Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we take apart those boring corporate documents so you don't have to. Today we will be explaining Old National Bancorp's 8K filing. Think of it as a financial autopsy after a big merger. We're diving into the numbers and seeing if this deal was a match made in heaven or a recipe for a headache. This report is all about Old National Bancorp's recent merger with Bremer Financial Corporation. Basically, Old National bought Bremer, and this filing gives us the financial details and what it all means. Before we start decoding, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where we discuss the latest financial news. Make sure to join. This is actually an amendment, which means they're correcting or adding information to a previous report that was filed in May regarding the closing of the merger with Bremer. It means a few things. Typically, these kinds of corrections are for relatively important details, and also it means that previously released information may have been inaccurate or incomplete. Our job is to see what changed and why it matters. The main reason for this amendment is to present Bremer's financial information related to the merger. Usually when one company buys another, they need to show the numbers, which includes the financial statements of the company that was bought and how would the merger happened earlier, and how would the finances look. What if the merger happened earlier, and how would the finances look? Halfa means as if, so it's like, what if the merger happened earlier, and how would the finances look? First up, we have Bremer's financial statements. We will be taking a look at their financial condition as of the end of 2024 and 2023. We also get to see their performance, changes in equity, and cash flow for the last couple of years. This allows investors to understand Bremer's financial health before the merger. Next, we have the pro forma financial information. This means we'll see how Old National's financials would have looked if the merger with Bremer had happened earlier. Specifically, they are showing projections as if it happened at the end of 2024 for the balance sheet, and the beginning of 2024 for the balance sheet, and the beginning of 2024 for the income statement. It can help investors understand the potential impact of the merger on Old National's financial position and performance. Ernst & Young, an independent auditing firm, gave their approval on Bremer's audited financial statements. This means they checked the numbers and gave an opinion that everything is fair and accurate. So this gives investors comfort that the financial data should be trustworthy. Now let's dive into those financial statements. We want to see how Bremer was doing as a business before being swallowed up by Old National. Let's check their balance sheet. Looking at Bremer's balance sheet, their total assets at the end of 2024 were roughly $17.7 billion. A year earlier in 2023, it was about 16 things like loans, cash, investments, etc. Now, checking the liability side of the balance sheet, Bremer had about $15.4 billion in total liabilities at the end of 2020 billion in 2023. This means that the company's debts and other obligations increased too. For better or worse, a growing company often also takes on more debt to fuel greater growth. Remember that liabilities are anything the company owes to someone else, like deposits, debts, etc. Finally, their total equity at the end of 2024 was around $230 billion compared to $224 billion the year before. This is the owner's stake in the company, or assets minus liabilities. Good to see it also jumped, as this is a key measure of a company's financial health. Now, let's move to their income statement, which shows how much money the company made and how much it spent running the business. Bremer's net interest income, which is basically the profit they make from loans, was about $448 million for the year ended December 31, 2024. A year earlier, it was $391 million. That's an increase, which is a good signal because that's how banks make most of their money. Their net income, meaning their final profit after all expenses, was about $228 million for 2024, a step up from $206 million in 2023. It is very good to see because ultimately that's what the merged company will benefit from. Since the filing also included pro forma financial information, let's jump to that. Remember, this is what happens when you combine the two companies' finances. On the pro forma balance sheet, we can see that if the merger had happened by the end of 2024, the combined total assets would have been about $48.5 billion, $48.55 billion. Total liabilities would have been around $42.4 billion. Again, a bigger number because it includes both companies. Total stockholders' equity would have been about $6.1 billion, which is the difference between the assets and liabilities on this made-up combined company. Now let's peek at the pro forma combined income statement. What would the combined revenues look like if the merger had happened earlier? The pro forma net interest income for the year ended December 31, 2024 would have been around $112 billion. This looks at how the banks would have performed as a single unit versus separately. Pro forma net income would have been approximately $511 million. So you can clearly see the scale of the combined entities. This document makes some references to risks. I wanted to point out a couple of them. There's a risk associated with the numbers in the filing. Specifically, the pro forma financial information is based on assumptions and estimates, which may not turn out to be accurate. If the assumptions are wrong, the combined company's actual financial position and results could be different from what's presented here. This is the most important thing to keep in mind. This is just someone's best guess. Another notable risk is that Old National may not be able to achieve the cost savings they expect from the merger. If they can't cut costs as planned, the financial benefits of the deal may not materialize. This could have a negative impact on the combined company's profitability. And this shows risks don't just entail bad scenarios, but also diminished profit. Hacentia for my take. Old National seems to be making a bold move by acquiring Bremer, expanding its footprint significantly with Bremer's strong presence in the Midwest. The pro forma numbers suggest that the combined entity would be substantially larger and more profitable. Also worth pointing out that Bremer's financials seem solid with growing assets, profits and equity. However, integrating two companies is never easy, like merging two separate households. There's a lot that can go wrong, especially with cost savings. If they are too optimistic about these savings, they could end up disappointed. Another consideration is whether there could be any cultural clashes between the two organizations. Overall, while the merger has the potential to boost Old National's scale and profitability, there are risks. Ultimately, if they successfully pull it off, this could be a good deal for Old National and its shareholders. On the other hand, even if you are an acquiring bank, you have to pay the right price. Alright, that's our breakdown of Old National's latest filing and its implications. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.